Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have a quant video for you guys today, QNT on the exchange. Haven't looked into quant for 4 or 5 months now in terms of videos. Obviously been keeping track of it very regularly in my portfolio. I've seen a bit of a rally up in the last week or so, in conjunction of course with some of the market trend too. But there's also a couple of other reasons why this may be occurring, and there's a bit more confidence and belief back into quant. We'll go into those bits of topics shortly. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Welcome to the channel if you are new. So let's go straight into this. So I'm just going to pull back to a few months ago. It was like 2 months ago actually, August time. There was a brief announcement via Telegram from Gilbert, CEO of Quant, mentioning, this is taken from Greg Lunt's I think it's X account here, just for accreditation purposes. So as I said, it's old news. I think if we look just down here, round about 16th of August / 17th of September. So yeah, pretty much the end of August. Relating to getting regulatory and legal clarity around the ability for staking rewards. Now, if you've been following the progress of the crypto space the last few years, certainly shortly after that sort of 2021 burst that we had, and around that sort of NFT explosion that everyone was getting involved in, or at least witnessing it from the outside if you weren't involved in crypto back then, it posed some questions about, you know, things like scams, regulation in general, particularly as well as a lot of physical assets were deemed to be able to be digital assets, and the aspect really of quant around the interoperability arena. These all kind of had to be really certified in the back end, in the background. Governments, politicians, etc. have been working relatively relentlessly over these last few years to gain those frameworks, to gain those accreditations, and develop that regulation framework. So when we've been going to the digital pound events over the last couple of years, it's always been a hard, big topic. Quant representatives have always been at these events. It's been nice to meet a couple of them along the way, have a couple of different conversations. Obviously, they don't give away too much with regards to certain elements of their blockchains, but it's nice to see everyone's on that similar path. Now, if you go further down the line, we're talking about cbdc's and things. Of course, there's always pros and cons to all of these technology advancements. But as a user of crypto, and not just us as investors, the actual network of quant is substantial, and what's being built on there currently is phenomenal as well. We have covered multitude of times in the past all the different projects, particularly with the BIS, the big organization around finance and the frameworks as well, where I think there was one called Project Rosalind, which we covered a while back, that quant was heavily involved in with regards to the sort of white papers and the technological elements to that as well. And that's continuing. I mean, there's loads of other projects going on. However, aside from that, they also need to sort of work through that aspect of, well, how can we maintain the quant tokenization, the tokenomics, as it were, with pretty much most blockchains. Just forget crypto assets in general for now, but as a blockchain, you have the utility token. The QNT token is the utility of the quant network, and it's very heavily used by loads of infrastructure organizations and personnel in the banking sphere, healthcare, energy, you name it, and they will essentially buy the quant to be able to work on the quant network. And the reason they want to use that network over many others is that big, huge factor of the interoperability aspect, the security of it, and generally the network that it perceives to have right now. So it's really important, in my opinion. It's a really important company and technology in the blockchain crypto space, especially, which we've talked about many times in the past, the orientation around integrating other technologies like 5G, 6G, 7G in the future, obviously, the likes of AI, IoT, you name it. And all of these things will need to work in that fashion as well. So quant will be heavily involved in that. But the staking part is exciting to anyone really that holds quant tokens. I don't have the full information of this part yet, because it's going to be quite interesting as to who has access to this. I would need to do a bit more research on that element too. But it's obviously something that's quite big interest to many people that are holding it or looking to hold it, and see that residual value of Quant, because we have seen some good numbers in the past on those market trends, those market charts, and certainly something that I think we'll see in the near future as well. And to reiterate what I said in the XRP video yesterday, and what I've said in pretty much all my videos, is we've got to also be patient. We've got to remember that yes, you can go and track up the meme coins, etc., the things that are the here and now, the hot news, etc. But the ones that I find fundamental and key that people are saying that forget them, the ISO coins, blah blah blah, forget them. No, because as of next year, November 2025, which has been going on about for many years, the RTGS system, the new financial system in the digital arena and utilizing blockchain, will be switched on. And that is when I believe there'll be a huge narrative moving forward from there. People will be jumping in and going, oh my God, which coin do I need to get for this, and this? Who's providing the services for these particular industries? Not just finance, as I said, there's loads of other industries that can't get involved with. So the staking aspect and the reward aspect helps maintain that token. It helps lock in tokens. It helps for them to generate and computerize more generative power, more generative results on the network. So it's a win-win for everyone, really, and protecting that price from the vast volatility. Because if you can imagine, when people were buying Quant years ago, as an investor, we look at that different price point and go, oh yeah, we can make money off this, brilliant. But from a developer or an architect in coding, etc., and you're trying to build on Quant, you don't want to be buying loads of Quant at stupid prices, right? So maintaining that staking mechanism and getting rewards out of that will definitely help that economy in the tokenomics. But yeah, there's a bit of confirmation in terms and conditions on the Quant website about staking as well after that regulation. Again, just need to do a bit more research in terms of how that operates and when available, but certainly something of great interest. So yeah, very interesting indeed. This article here from September the 9th will show a bit of a rally after that response. That was around about the $70 mark, so we're around 100 something at the moment, which we'll go into in a minute. But yes, just a few reiterations. If anyone wants to read this, you can literally jump onto the BIS website. You can check out the previous projects like Project Roslyn. This is one of the latest ones around inflation and AI. I've talked about this in the past, how AI and blockchain can really enhance the aspect of finances to potentially eradicate things like interest rates or the requirement for interest rates and inflation, because everything could be essentially done on an algorithmic data of supply, demand, and really shake up the world in making it more automated so that this kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. We don't get recessions and this, that, and other. I mean, some people argue that we need them. Well, if we can avoid them, who knows? This is what the projects are about right now. So just to reiterate that Quant has this relation massively with BIS, and they're working on these different things. They will have different names for those that are new to this channel or new to the projects in general. Each has a specific naming structure. We've had things like Project Jura, Icebreaker. They're all related to various regions around the world. But you also get some of these new projects that are related to specific technology focus groups as well. So very much interesting. And back to my point earlier about timing, this, I'm not going to read through this, but the title says it for me. Now, whenever I've been going to these Digital Pound events, foundation events, one of the big topics is always about like how in fact, TFDI as well, with Andre when I was there last year, how do we educate businesses? Like at the moment, there's a very small pocket of businesses around the world that are utilizing blockchain. I don't even know what it is. Like 90% of the general population, let alone businesses, know what blockchain is and how it can enhance their business. They've already heard of AI. They started integrating some of that. They already probably use IoT products or smart products. So if we can integrate blockchain for that processing, that validation aspect, and also to hold potential physical or services on there as well in a digital format and transfer those, whether they're deeds, whether they are contracts, whatever, Quant can sustain all of this. This is where we're in the education phase. So is your business blockchain ready? The answer is probably no for a majority of them. And that's my point, is we're so early as I said, forget a load of the other coins you might be invested in. Obviously, just keep doing what you're doing or want to do. But my point being was with these kind of projects and companies where people are just bored of them, or arguing that they're not moving, or this, that, and the other, they're dead. No, they're not. They are primed, ready to go for when this all switches on. And then trust me, in the next sort of 5 to 20 years, I know it's a long time, but in the next 5 to 20 years, we are going to see the full development of blockchain in the real world scenario. We've had this sort of 10, 15 year progression of what is cryptocurrency, the regulations, the frameworks. You had to have the frameworks and the regulations for this to kick off significantly. Absolutely. And now we're at this point where everything gets switched on in the financial system next year. And then trust me, other industries will follow. There's no doubt about it. We've been talking about it for a long time. So we can hold a lot of these projects in our portfolios, sometimes just forget about them. If you want to trade them, fantastic. For me with Quant, I was buying at various different levels. I did get a big chunk at like that sort of $44 or $60 mark a while back. So, obviously getting up to the 100 isn't, personally, it's not that exciting to me at all. When we get back to sort of towards the 400, 500 mark, and maybe even beyond that in this next bull run, who knows? We'll look at that chart in a minute. That's where I start seeing massive residual value of return in that format. Maybe not as big X's as you would see in a lot of the other small cap coins, etc. But for me, there are some assets that I'm just holding for the future, as in like a alternative to a pension or a savings account. Because if you think about all the companies that were evolving in the bubble format of the internet, where they are today from a price point, you could imagine buying those shares in the 90s and then you holding on to them. And that's why there's so many rich, powerful people today in that age bracket, because that's what they did. They didn't just sell things all the time. They held on to a lot of them because they saw the value, they saw the growth pattern. And if you can see that in blockchain, and you can see that with some of these certain projects, you'll be laughing when you're in that retirement age, or when you perceive to want to be retired. That's what it's about for me personally, is I have some assets I play with, some assets that are literally for trading on and off when I can, to take those profits, to have something to work with while I'm alive and having fun in this period of age that I am at. And then there's some for the future as well. So if you can get that mentality, I think it's worthwhile for sure. I don't know what everyone thinks about that, but there's a bit of advice from my side, just from personal experience, and even just people around me, and taking advice from elders as well. Massively important to see, not necessarily the mistakes, but like what their opportunities that they missed. Things like this are right in front of us, and we've got to be clever. We've got to be savvy. Forget those videos about being a millionaire in a week and stuff like that. Unless you've got substantial capital and you know exactly what you're doing with a trading perspective 24/7, fine. But for the rest of us, like majority of people, you just have to plan this accordingly. So I think, in my opinion, Quant is one of those for me where, of course I'll take some profits along the way, but majority of my Quant will be sat in my ledger account as long as possible. Okay, that's just me. So on that note, let's go into the chart of Quant as well. As I said, we've had a bit of movement. Some people don't get excited about it. I'm not massively excited just yet. It depends on where you've been buying Quant or how often you trade it. But we must take the positives. We are back up at the 100 mark. So we've taken ourselves to hit this relative mark. So if we just scroll back to this medium chart that I've got here. So just taking one of the lower points and try and keep it as best as I can. Maybe around about there somewhere. So you can see we're very much in line with this and the previous line there. So I'm just going to remove one of the long-term ones, because at the moment it's just looking like a massive rainbow. Let's see if I can get... I got rid of the wrong one. That's annoying. That's the one I wanted. There we go. Let's get rid of that one for a second. I'll put it back on in a sec. So you can see that we are playing around with these perspective areas. I'm just going to put... after all that, I'm going to put the other one back. Just to see where we've gone in these areas of interest in the macro level. So you can see that when we're in these lower stages, we're playing around with all these individual micro levels. If we take that back off, and we start playing with this medium term, we can start to see potentially where Quant is possibly going, or going to be playing around with for the next few weeks. I'm just going to remove the orange line here. We're also playing around with this mid gap here. So this is one of the previous charts that I did probably about 1 or 2 years ago, showcasing the area above. So we can use this as a baseline, arguably, of one of the most previous high points that we've had. So we haven't been in these areas literally since this marker back here. So I'm not sure when I did those videos, but I know that they were at least a year ago. So what we can tell from this, currently, we've already had a bit of stability around these two areas here. We've taken that on board and we've started messing around with this one here, $1-ish, $100. Some said there was a breaker point around 105. We couldn't quite get there just yet. I think if we can get above that 105 and start bouncing around that area slightly for a few days, maybe even a week, I think we could actually accelerate beyond that for sure to try and retest that 120, which is a price point really that we haven't seen since around April earlier this year, or roughly sort of end of March, April 2024. That's when we can start looking back at this chart here. So I'm not going to focus just yet on this area. We'll do that in the next quant video. I'm more interested about what's happening now. So there's been a retaliation in the staking around the August-September time. That's where we saw this upheaval here. But the market was still in relatively a bear cycle. So you're going to get that traction up over a couple of weeks, and then you're going to get the ultimate pin down. The only advantageous thing right now is that we've gone beyond these sort of previous low points of sort of $44, $50, and now we're seeing that support mechanism at 55. I think we can tick that off for this moment in time, and we can start looking quite nicely at this $76 mark. So there could be some bounce around activity in these certain areas between the sort of 77 or call it $80 around to the 105, 110. I think we need that until something comes out for quant relating to good news, or that marketing activity, or market activity in general, where people are excited and the trend just keeps kicking up. Because we've had the market moving up in general in a nice trend line after Bitcoin and everything. I do anticipate that in the coming days and weeks, we'll see a lot of that come into Ethereum. Then we'll see Ethereum drop into the altcoins. The altcoins span now like 2 million odd coins, right? Because when I first got into crypto, there was about 12,000, and that was only like 5-6 years ago. Now it's 2.4 or something silly. So that principle is that we've already started seeing an upheaval of that, which is great for the confidence of quant. If staking comes in, I can see this going even higher properly, or at least if staking becomes more publicly available, more easily available, then great. I know it's available like on some exchanges, but I'm talking about actually directly. I think that'll be a massive thing. But at this moment in time, we are hitting that $100 mark. So I would like to personally see this hovering around 100 or 105 for the next few days, and I do think we could potentially rally up. The next two stages of that, it sounds a bit boring, but we want to see a tick off in the macro levels of 108 and then the 117. The longer term period is 122 as a target. So that's where we could penetrate forwards. If you look back here, arguably, just from the 16th of November, only like, less than 10 days ago, we've gone from the 60 to the 100, so why not? So we need a few things to happen. We need that extra encouragement, that extra push. Currently, the RSI on the 14-day at the bottom left here is sitting at around 73. So there is definitely room for movement. And I think that ISO narrative, or the narrative around real-world assets, will start kicking back in over these coming months. So there is an anticipation in my mind. I've been conservative about it, but I do think that it's realistic to potentially get to that 117/122 mark. So we'll just mark that area for now, and we'll see if we can get into that boxed area in the coming weeks as the market continues to accelerate. So on the performance indicators of quant, let's see if we can back that up a bit more. So in the last week, 53% have seen the Coast Guard go over. Hopefully everyone's all right in the sea. Very, very windy today. 53% up on the week, 10% up on the 6 months. That's why I'm saying it's a bit conservative at the moment. The valuation, if you're buying at 60 and you get to $100, you're not going to be too excited. It depends on how much you bought, actually, to be fair. But yes, if you're buying them regularly and you're trading regularly, then of course these numbers are significant. If you're a long-term holder like I am, I'm not awakened yet to the excitement of quant, but I do appreciate that we are making some legs up of that, because as I said before, I do want to see quant returning to those wonderful highs that we saw back here in 2021, if it's possible, of course. the last time the highest point was 227 in 2022. So that was the sort of mid-range. Remember, we had the 2021 boom. We had a bit of the crash, but then there was some excitement around how the progression of crypto would be, etc. And then it died off again. So if we can hit back to these previous numbers of 400, I'll be a bit more awake in terms of the excitement of this. Yeah, I'm sure I'll take some profits along the way at some of these regions here. I know we marked off some original ones when we were looking at the lower price points of where to buy. And, as I said, if I was taking those positions now, we're not too far off some of those, but some of these lower ones were brilliant to obtain some quant at that sort of $50-$60. I think for the long term, that's quite good as a holding mechanism. And as I said, for a long term perspective, you don't want too many of these long term ones to be too volatile. You want them to be relatively stable because, yes, you want growth, of course, but you also want that stability. So let's see the progress of quant as we go forwards. Interested to know your thoughts on the staking aspect and quant in general. Are you excited? I've been trying my best now moving forward to keep the videos under 20 minutes. We're just slightly overrun. But thanks for watching this one, guys. We'll cover quant in the coming weeks, especially if there's some interesting progression. I'll be doing some more YouTube shorts as well, just to keep track of any quick announcements or quick changes into the sphere of the market right now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.